you're in no position to lecture the public about anything. You know nothing about the real world. Most of you spent less time in school than Greta Thunberg. So,
if Donald Trump wins the presidency, a pig will fly out of my butthole because it will be a nightmare.
I have a house in Spain that is going to be ready right after the election.
Panama,
Siberia,
Nova Scotia. I'm definitely moving to Canada.
straight to hell,
Iceland.
France.
Asia's pretty cool.
Like a mental hospital for a while because you're like, why is this happening?
I've always wanted to live in Italy, so I feel like that might be a good time.
Who's Trump?
We can't have an orange president.
I would be very concerned for America if Donald Trump won.
Eventually.
Inevitable.
Oh, fuck no. Now, honestly, if there is anything the 2024 US election has proved, it's that Hollywood's influence is quite literally dead. The glitz, the glamour, none of it actually matters when the real world steps in. And yes, they tried. They tweeted, they railed, they preached from their ivory platforms and thrones, but when the final votes rolled in, the audience just wasn't buying it. Because honestly, who in the real world cares if the Avengers endorse Kamala Harris? Just because they play heroes on screen doesn't mean that their opinions are right or even relevant in the real world. But you can bet your bottom dollar that if there is one group of people who will never let an opportunity pass to remind you of their existence, it is quite literally the annoying brats at Hollywood. I mean, it's sickening that every single time something major happens in the real world, something that actually affects real people with real lives, all of a sudden, here comes the actors crawling out of their multi-million-dollar guarded panic rooms and fortresses like mindless, diseased, rabies-infested wave of zombies from The Walking Dead to graze us lowly mortals with their unsolicited wisdom. Because who better to tell us mere peasants how to think, how to vote, and how to feel? Because who better to guide the struggling working class, working paycheck to paycheck through political and economic uncertainty than a bunch of Botoxed millionaires whose only discernible skill is pretending to be other people for a living? Seriously, who wants to take advice from someone with multiple private jets, living in guarded mansions, who never gets to live with the consequences of their political opinions, agendas, and endorsements? Geez, I bet these people never get to experience the rising cost of living, crime, homelessness. I mean, who in his right mind would want advice from such out-of-touch brats? I mean, Jesus wept. That's like asking for directions from Stevie Wonder. And it doesn't exactly take a genius to realize that it's not going to end well. And of course, the usual cycle repeats itself every time the elections doesn't go the way they thought it would. Oh geez, time for another round of that hilarious empty threats of promising to leave the country. And judging by the long list of celebrities who promised they were going to leave the country because the nuclear Armageddon of Orange Man Thanos bringing about the end of the world was inevitably coming. I mean, these morons act like this guy hasn't actually been president before, but anyway, I digress. I mean, the long list of celebrities promising to leave the country if Orange Man Thanos becomes president is quite literally longer than Diddy's criminal rap shit. I mean, seriously. But what really cracks me up and fascinates me is what exactly do these celebrities expect us to do? Like, are we supposed to reply sadly, like, oh, please don't? How would the rest of us go on without your profound Instagram monologues, Oscar speeches, and teary moments on social media that sounds like a rejected high school poetry assignment?
Oh, please, 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 please,
Please, I'm there, Gary. Please come home. I'm a wreck without you.
Right.
Here's a word of advice. Maybe, just maybe, you brats should put your money where your overused collagen filled mouth is and actually leave. But we all know you won't, because the only one thing you guys love more than hearing yourselves talk is the sound of applause. And speaking of desperate pandering, let's talk about the Avengers cast. Yes, the same people who made billions playing pretend in tight spandex and punching imaginary fake CGI aliens suddenly transformed into solemn political prophets convinced to jump on one of the fakest Zoom calls I have ever seen in my life to deliver the most robotic corporate approved endorsements possible. And seriously, watching this fake fabricated spectacle was like watching a group of hostages forced to read a script at gunpoint, but with some of the worst acting. I mean, seriously, I've seen better acting performances from Al Kelly, and he isn't even a professional actor. And then there's the obvious case of Brie Larson, bless her heart, who was just about as natural as a malfunctioning Westworld robot, bless her robotic egotistical soul, which had just about the same warmth of a malfunctioning animatronic at a haunted carnival, and the rest of the crew weren't even much better, as you could practically hear the PR firms hissing instructions in their earpieces while they struggled to pretend they weren't just doing another performance, as you could practically hear the dump trucks full of money backing up behind them while they tried to act like they weren't just doing another paid performance.
Hi, you guys. Hi, Avengers.
Hey, Scarlett.
Jumping on the call.
Whoa. I think you mean assembling. I said assembling. Don, that's pretty good. No, that was funny.
But hey, if soulless Hollywood puppets think their moral compass is going to sway the unsaved masses, who are we to stop them? And speaking of shameless desperation, the second things didn't go the way the industry wanted, they went into a full-scale meltdown. For a solid 24 hours, Hollywood was struck with an awkward silence, like a funeral for their own dissolutions of power.
Americans who don't travel, who 80% don't have a passport, who are uneducated, are in their extraordinary naivete.
Americans are very uninformed about reality, what's really going on. With climate change, Ukraine, Israel, you name it, all the biggest topics in the world, Americans have an appetite for a little bit of it.
Right.
Like a drowning man to a driftwood, it was reduced to incoherent whining. It was like watching a spoiled toddler scream itself harsh and then pass out in a puddle of its own tears. Even Mike Hammer couldn't think of anything to say, and normally you can't get that guy to shut the fuck up about politics. And the honest truth is that social media has done the one thing nobody asked it for. It made celebrities accessible, but instead of being impressed, we got to see just how out of touch, needy, and brain dead so many of them actually are. Turns out that the glamorous facade was just that, a facade. Behind the scenes and behind the curtains, the illusions of these brain dead Hollywood celebrities being picture perfect is crumbling faster than Joe Biden can fall off a fleet of stairs. The truth is that social media has done one thing nobody asked for. It peeled back the curtain on these people, and instead of the wise, enlightened figures they pretend to be, we saw what they really are. But instead of being impressed, we got to see just how needy, vapid, and pathetically desperate for validation so many of them actually are. The illusion of these Hollywood celebrities being picture perfect is dead, decaying like the corpse of a forgotten franchise, and no amount of inspiration motivational speeches will resurrect it. For years, we were told these people were our betters, our moral and intellectual superiors, because they could memorize words someone smarter wrote for them and cry on cue. But now their influence has been reduced to incoherent screaming and temper tantrums that you would probably think came straight from Hulk in the Avengers, as they quite literally scream into the void, ignored by a world that finally has been red-pilled and is tired of their constant nagging and lecturing, and has quite literally stopped caring. And I have to admit that the anarchist in me literally enjoying all this misery and violence. Watching Hollywood scramble to reclaim its relevance is like watching a washed-up boxer desperately try to convince the world that they've still got it, except instead of training for a comeback, they are just crying on social media between Botox injections. So here's the bitter pill, Hollywood. No one cares anymore. No one cares who you vote for. No one cares which charity you pretend to donate to so you can get a tax write-off. The days of people fawning over your opinions like divine proclamations are over. You exist in a gold-plated bubble, but so detached from reality, and that's fine. Be rich, be successful, enjoy the perks of your fame, but for the love of whatever you people pretend to believe in, stop trying to play the role of the wise philosopher kings. You are not sages, you are not leaders, you're not even that interesting anymore. You are clowns desperately performing for an audience that has already left the tents. The show's over, the lights are off, and the only sound left is the echo of your own voices bouncing around the hollow halls of your dime relevance. Now, if you would excuse me, I have better things to do, so pass me the tiniest fucking violin so I can play the most miserable, saddening, fitting tune worthy of your irrelevance. Well, this is going to be a bitter pill to swallow, Hollywood, but just like you guys have forced your woke, annoying flop after flop movies down our throats, swallow you must. But not to worry, because Dr. Red Pill is here to administer your medicine. You see, the cold hard truth is that no one gives a fuck about your political opinions anymore. And let's be fucking honest, there's nothing wrong with being rich and successful if you've earned it. And to be honest, it's kind of fucking cool to be an actor. I mean, you guys get to do stuff and go places that most of us could only dream of, and we are happy to cheer and boo the characters that you play. We are happy to be captivated by your performances. We are happy to hear you talk about your craft and share stories and insights of what that's like. But what we are not prepared to do anymore is to be lectured by you and told what causes we are supposed to support by you, or how to think and vote by you. And for Hollywood as a whole, this next bit is going to take a lot of humility and self-reflection, which I realize are two qualities that you guys are not exactly good at. But it's time to shut the fuck up about this political nonsense and pandering. It's none of your business. It's not your area of expertise, and it never was. Learn that lesson and you might just get back the respect and attention that you so crave and desire. Learn it not and you might just be better off digging your own graves. And that's fine, because you can enjoy your riches, your mansions, your Botox, your ego-stroking award shows, but for the love of whatever you pretend to believe in, stop trying to rule from a throne built out of movie props and delusions. You are not sages, you are not visionaries, you guys are barely even entertaining anymore. You are clowns desperately flailing under a spotlight that's flickering out. The show's over, the audience has left, and the only thing left for you guys to do is stand there in the darkness, drowning in the deafening silence of your own irrelevance. Now, if you would excuse me, I have better things to do than listen to millionaires cry.
My name is Media Anarchist, and if you enjoyed this video, then you should definitely subscribe for more, where we tear apart entertainment with brutal honesty, fresh takes, and zero corporate fluff. So what are you waiting for? Join the rebellion, and I'll see you in the next one.